Thanks for watching Speak Up SLC with Mayor Jackie Biskupski. If you've got questions for the mayor, please send them to us via Twitter at #SpeakUpSLC, or you can send it to us via #SpeakUpSLC on Facebook. I'm your host, Poonam Kumar, and Mayor, thanks again for joining us here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So first off, I want to know, why is the mayor of Salt Lake City on the cover of Elle Magazine?
Well, I wish I was on the cover. I'm definitely inside
Featured
of
in
it.
Sorry,
yes,
featured
I
in
am
right.
featured in the magazine. You know, it really became of interest to them.
Okay.
The work that I do around getting women to run for office, and then why I ran and why other women in this country ran. And, you know, I'm very excited that a magazine like Elle will take on that issue, because not near enough women are involved in the decision-making process, whether it's at city, state, county, national level. We need more women involved in politics, and we need those voices and those opinions and that life experience involved in decisions that are being made. And so every chance I get, I like to promote women and get them going and get them excited about running for office,
right.
or even joining a board or commission, which is very important too.
And you were one of 11 women featured in this fashion magazine.
Yes, that's
so
really
fun.
Neat.
Yeah, it is really.
You know, it was such an honor when they called, but beyond that, I was so excited about what the topic was and the importance, and that they were shedding a light on that for our entire country. And to me, it's a very important light to shed. Yeah. Yeah.
And among other things, you were at Comic-Con this morning.
Today,
so this
yeah.
weekend, today kicks off the big Comic-Con weekend.
It was so fun.
And you issued a proclamation.
I did.
Tell me about that.
So we did a proclamation in honor of the event. It is the largest convention event here. Even though it doesn't bring the most people here, the numbers are extraordinary. And so I wanted to honor the work that the founders had done in creating such a successful event. And we went down with our proclamation and hit all the key points, so different people in the crowd would cheer at different times, and it was just fun.
What was one of those key points?
Well, you know, we talked a little bit about winter coming, you know, and we also talked about, you know, being diverse and the importance of diversity, you know, and so different things that we could kind of take from a city perspective, but also involve the comics themselves and the messaging that comes with those different storylines. But it was super fun. I met Lou Ferrigno today, and
cool.
you know, my son is a huge fan of the Hulk, and so that was great.
Oh, that is really neat.
Yeah.
And now last week you were, there was a Homeless Services Site Evaluation Commission meeting. Where are we in this process now? Talk to me about last week's meeting.
Yeah, so the meeting was super important because we are, you know, really wrapping up a very long process of community engagement. And we are still moving forward with a site selection process that we are trying to find 2 sites to build new resource centers, which are very different than a shelter. And those resource centers will be, right now we're looking at one for men and one for women, and maybe some families that are not being taken care of through the Midvale Resource Center that exists out there. But in this process, we are now asking for the community to go for a ride with us and come see what a resource center could look like. So we're doing some tours. There'll be 7 total this month, I believe. And you will be able to go to like the VOA, you'll be able to go to the YWCA or the Lantern House. These are all resource centers. They're designed very differently. Their missions are similar. And I think people need to see these so they can envision what we are trying to create, and not just envision what currently exists today down at the shelter.
And I know that there have been a couple tours. Commission members have already seen some of these spaces.
Yeah.
What's coming out of it, of these locations? Like, what are we gathering? Like, what are we seeing that are things that are good models?
Good
that
models.
We can use?
Right. I think we're being extremely mindful, because when the initial study had been done, there were 9 distinct populations that had been identified. And the needs of those distinct populations vary. So as you create a resource center, you want to make sure that what is in that resource center are services that you as an individual may need, and that I as an individual may need, but could be different. And so making sure that when we build resource centers, there are services available to you right there. Our whole intention and goal is to help you to become self-sustaining again and independent, working toward your own independent housing and employment opportunities, all of that. We want to be able to address issues that may have led to homelessness to begin with, such as drug addiction or mental health care that wasn't being met. So those are all at the forefront as we create a facility. There's a lot of dialogue around how you do the service delivery different, but we are also looking at outcomes we are trying to achieve that have been established by the county. The county is a service provider. Other service providers have been at the table. So those outcomes are on the minds of people who are designing a facility. And so you can design a single floor facility, or you can design a multi-layered facility, but how do you create it so that the community's priorities are met as well? So like, the community does not want a resource center that is conducive to drug trade, for instance. So how do you design that facility in a way that does not facilitate the easy access to vulnerable populations to drug deals, right? So all of that's being considered, and we are working to bring on Nexus. Nexus is a company that is working with the county right now on design, and we are bringing them into the fold to really look at the site selection committee's criteria, and then how that criteria was prioritized by the public, so that when they create a design for the county and the city, you know, that all of our service concerns, but also all of the other concerns raised by the site selection committee are addressed.
And now talk about the importance of community helping community. And I noticed it, there's a hashtag the city is now using called, it's not being afraid.
Not being afraid?
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is engage.
Not afraid to help, sorry.
Not afraid to help.
Not afraid to help is what we're using. So talk to me about that hashtag.
Part of what we're trying to do is bring the community into the fold to help with problem solving. So we've been doing it since I came into office. We created a division within my administration that is about community empowerment and really wanting to have civic engagement conducted in a way that your voice and your thoughts and ideas can become part of a solution. And we are finding great success with this model. We've been using it has been extremely receptive to the recommendations coming from the community on how we can be the best police department. And so now we are using that, for instance, to engage people in this process. We are using it to engage people in how we manage pedestrian traffic even. So that'll be coming as well, looking at, bikes and pedestrians who are walking and people in wheelchairs and elderly people on sidewalks. How do we all get around in our city in a way that makes it easy for everyone? So that community engagement piece that you're talking about has been extremely helpful in us creating solutions that people want and appreciate and like. We're using that same kind of thought process even on Foothill Boulevard today to really get input from the community on where are your give and takes and what do you want most for Foothill. And we had a tremendous turnout last night at a school yesterday getting input from the community.
And the community can also go on these tours that are scheduled for September by visiting the SLC Gov website and signing up there to actually go and see these facilities and see the places before they provide that input.
Right, which will be super helpful. I think I want people to understand in all of that we are working on that what you may be thinking and what we are trying to convey to you as far as the new model might be very different. So these tours are very enlightening. I think people will see that as they tour these facilities, how they fit into a community in a way that maybe the shelter doesn't do so well, and that you can have a resource center in your community and be safe and appreciate what's happening and the work that's being done all at the same time. So,
and we're on a rather quick timeline here, right?
Well, it feels quick for sure because during the legislative session when we secured some state funding to build these resource centers, we also committed to a timeline so that when we were coming back to the session for the round 2 of trying to obtain funds, that we had taken significant steps moving forward. And we are looking at presenting to the council by November 1st the 2 sites. Several sites are potential sites right now. I heard that today, that the team that's been vetting out potential sites in the city based on the criteria, what exists out there, and now it's a matter of really looking at those potential sites to see if there are some federal laws that maybe will kick some off, and then are there any other significant issues with those sites that may kick a few others off. So we keep working through this, and then we'll have a process to present up to 5 sites to the council.
And then what happens from that point after you present the 5 sites to the council, then the council
then we're looking for the last 2 that
get to 2,
and then we start to try to construct and move forward. So
okay. Well, thanks for updating us on that. And
you're welcome.
Just earlier this week too, you attended a celebration event at the Liberty Wells Community Garden.
Oh yes,
right? Celebrate harvest season, which is
harvest season
now.
Is so great. Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that and community partnerships and the importance of that.
You know, it's so exciting because this is a neighborhood that had green space that just was not being utilized. And they came to the city and said, we want a community garden. And, you know, this is a neighborhood with some apartments and smaller lots where people really just couldn't do their own gardens. It is full. There are 40 participants in this garden. There are 4 beds that are ADA accessible that are being used. And really it's created a sense of community in this little neighborhood that really has not existed before. Everybody is helping each other learn to garden and sharing their secrets, and you can clearly see that. The success of the plants in that land, on that land, is just phenomenal. So it's fun.
Well, that's great, and it's exciting to see that there's going to be more popping up
there will
in the
be
city,
more.
And we're using city lands or city space to create those community gardens, and community members can actually apply to have a community garden and manage and oversee that. You can visit slcgov.com and go to our SLC Green page to get more information and apply.
That's right.
So
that's right.
We do have a question here now from Matt Morris. He says, I wish local coffee shops had a way to obtain licenses easier, to also sell bottled beer with food. I think it capitalizes on the contemporary social environments that already exist here.
sure.
Anything you'd like to say to that?
Yeah, I'm all about freedom. You know, it's hard. The liquor laws here are very difficult to work with. They're very extensive, and depending on the license you're trying to get, and then there's a restriction on the number of licenses per permit type, and you know, it's not easy. I think it would be great, though, if people could just get a beer with their sandwich, right? I mean, if that's what they wanted to do, and it just seems much easier to accommodate just a simpler way of living. But, you know, there's a mindset of sorts that, you know, we just don't need to make it so accessible. Yet, I think what people don't realize is that people aren't always drinking to get drunk. That's just not the reality. We have a lot of connoisseurs in this, especially in this state and in this community, who are beer crafters and take that craft very seriously and compete nationally and internationally. And, you know, for me, that's something to celebrate. It's not just about partying and, you know, it's just not. So
it's a social thing, right?
It's a social thing, and the other piece to it is too, though, you know, people need to be able to make choices in this life, and we need to free up more opportunity to make choices, and then just be responsible with those choices. Yeah.
All right. Well, Mayor, thank you so much for being on our show.
Oh, my pleasure.
And thank you for watching. Please tune in next time. We're filming again on Thursday, September 15th at 1:15 p.m., another Speak Up SLC episode with the mayor. And please do continue to send us your questions via Twitter or Facebook at #SpeakUpSLC. Thanks for watching.
Very good.
Good question.
Yeah, it was.